Everybody. Welcome to the Tai live demo webinar today. My name is Sean McGillicuddy from Tai Software, and we're looking forward to showing you a little bit of Tai live in action. I'll be handing the mic off to our rock star for today, who is Rob Henritze, our Director of Sales Engineering. Before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover today. And for anybody who has never heard of Tai or seen Tai, I want to give you a little bit of background about who we are. So again, thank you for joining. I'm Chief Revenue Officer at Tai Software, and our system was originally built back in 2013 by a group of developers who at this point have been working together in specifically freight broker tech for 20 plus years at this point. And so we believe we built a really solid foundation for freight brokers to handle all their day-to-day, standard freight brokering activity and do it in a really efficient way that allows them to do more with fewer amount of bodies. So the system originally was designed really just to handle LTL and full truckload freight. But over the last few years, we've put a significant amount of effort into trying to make the system more flexible for brokers. So our goal is always to play really nicely with integrations. So all the top freight tech in the market we integrate with, but not only do we integrate, we put it into the workflow so you can leverage those tools from within the system. And the flexibility we've built in over the last 2 years makes it so not only do you have a solid foundation for your day-to-day freight broker activity, but you also are able to build out your unique workflows, automate different processes to try and make to make the system a little more tailored to you and what's going to make things more efficient for yourself. So the market conditions have been a little challenging over the last couple of years here. And so our goal is to spend time focusing. We'll talk a little bit about the market conditions, and then we want to specifically focus on one aspect of the TMS that should allow you to give your carrier reps a better process that allows them to scale, cover more freight with the same amount of bodies. We want to make it easy for them to find the trusted carriers that you want them working with on a regular basis, and we want you to find that from one screen. We think we can help reduce the exposure to fraud, and we can make sure that they're protecting your margins, but even on the fly. So if they can very quickly see data, see carriers that you want them working with, and they can select those carriers, find coverage, protect your margins, and do it fast so you can cover more freight at a higher margin. So without further ado, I want to hand it off to our Director of Sales Engineering, Rob Henritze, who's got a great background in freight, which he'll tell you a little bit about. He'll cover a little bit of market conditions, and then we'll go ahead and dive right into the platform.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Go ahead, Rob.
Appreciate everybody carving out some time for us here today. Again, my name is Rob Henritze. I'm Director of Sales Engineering here at Tai Software. I've spent my whole career really in the TMS space. I'm very passionate about our industry and our market and what we're doing here at Tai specifically. What we're hoping to focus on today is really to walk you guys through our system and how we can help protect margins and drive efficiency for your brokerage. Sean and I talk to brokers every single day. In fact, I talked to one this morning, and what they're telling us is continued margin pressure downward, and certainly a need to drive efficiency by leveraging technology better, while also maintaining flexibility throughout that process to accommodate customers, big and small, right? What I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's get into the tool here. And we'll walk through a few of these examples. All right.
And as Rob brings up this and looks, sorry, Rob, but we will be taking questions at the end. So if you want to drop your questions into the chat as we go, some of them might get answered as we go along, but we'll save some time at the end to address questions.
Awesome. So we'll get started here on the dashboard in Tai. What this is going to represent is really that initial screen experience for your team, as they get started with their day. The goal is to drive everyone and all users to exactly what they need to be focused on. So if we're running a split model, I have, for example, shipments assigned to my particular user or to my team. And that's going to reflect shipments in our case here today that I need to get covered. We're gonna walk through an example of actually getting a shipment covered and show you how we can make that process very simple and efficient, while also allowing you to protect those margins. All right, I'm going to click on my assigned shipments here. This is our truckload operations dashboard card. So it shows me, all of the major statuses that we track. And then my tasks here represent exceptions that are going to be driven to the user. That's all going to be defined by you guys in terms of what you would like users to focus on. Clicking anywhere here is going to take me to either the shipment or, in our case here, to the shipments that we need to get covered. As I pull this up, you'll notice that this is our company load board is what we call this. This is going to be the main page in Tai for managing all of your truckload freight. It gives you a lot of information on one page. This is a key part of the efficiency that we can provide, and that we're just going to consolidate everything so that we can quickly see, where we are in the process and what we need to do. If you're on the phone with a carrier, you've got all the information that you need right there to sell the load. Sean, anything to add
And the
there?
goal in this load board, just so everybody knows, we'll pivot into our truckload quoting so we can show you how to take action on these shipments. But the goal of this page is to make it so no matter where the shipments are coming from, whether they're coming in through EDI, through emails, maybe a customer portal, or maybe some of them are even manually entered, no matter what, everything lands on this page, and it allows you to zero in on just the shipments that you need to focus on. So Rob's here is his assignments. So you can build out any kind of workflow to make sure that the assignments go to the right folks. But the goal is you can see everything from this page that's coming in that needs to be covered, and you can take action on a lot of these shipments right without even leaving this page.
Exactly. We can filter through a variety of different methods here at the top. You can save your filters here. And again, those assignments are going to be dynamic in terms of how we've set those up. And so we can have shipments assigned to users or to teams, and that can be based on preconditions or conditions that you've set. Hey, appointments are set on this load. I want to go ahead and mark it available. It's going to automatically assign it to the carrier sales team. They're going to get a notification. They pop in here on their assignments and they see what they need to cover or what's available to cover. Variations, of course, we can support, but that automation and that assignment is a really powerful way to drive efficiency for your brokerage. Let's look at this first example here. So you can see this is a shipment that we have originating in Los Angeles, headed to Bedford Park outside of Chicago. You've got the ability to, of course, customize the view here. I've sort of zeroed mine in on what kind of amounts to a carrier sales view. I can see my buy min, my max buy there on the load. And then if you notice over here, you'll see that we have some different alerts. Alerts are going to be fully customized, so you can add in additional alerts. You can drive workflows that'll add alerts automatically, resolve them. Gives your team the visibility they need right from the load board into what they have to do. Let's look at the quote count right here. You'll see that I have 4 active carrier quotes. That's what that reflects here for this particular load. And the color that you're seeing indicates that this is a load that I'm actively working to get covered. So I've actually started the process. I could click on the quotes, or I could access the actions on the right-hand side to pull up our truckload quoting page. And this is really going to be the heart of our demo today, is walking you guys through the truckload quoting page and some additional features that we've built into this tool if you've seen anything that we've done before. I've got my details over here on the top right-hand side, so the lane and the equipment type in our case here. I can access the pricing up here at the top as well for the shipment. So you'll see the min, the max that we've already set. This has actually been assigned over to my team from an account manager, so this has already been priced out. You can see, our margins based on the min carrier rate that we entered. And then on the left-hand side here, we have all of the market intelligence tools that are going to help me buy correctly or help me sell this load correctly within keeping track of those margins and making sure that we're protecting them. We've got integrations with all the leading tools. So you'll see Truckstop, DAT, Sonar, Green Screens, Cargo Chief. We're constantly adding new integrations so that you can really go out in the market and decide what tools work for your brokerage. We want to make sure those tools are reflected, accurately in our system as well. Down below here,
Rob's.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, Rob. As Rob walks through this page, what we want you to note is this page allows you to almost query your carrier database for the right types of carriers. And we want to make it really easy for you to aggregate data in one place. So rather than all of your carriers and your entire quote history living in a spreadsheet or just in somebody's head, we want to make it super easy for your team to share information and scale the process of finding the right carriers for each load. So this just, as Rob goes through that, just make note of how easy it is to find the carriers for with the type of equipment, with the type of insurance, all in compliance, that you can find right here, and you can reach out to them from this screen.
Yeah, instantly at your fingertips here. I've got every carrier that's run this lane for me in the past 6 months, quoted me in the past, indicated in their lane preferences that they want to run this particular lane. Even any contract or dedicated capacity is going to surface right here on the truckload quoting page for any shipment that you look at. You can even search directly on the truckload quoting page, accessing the shipments tool, truckload quoting, entering the lane info and the equipment, and you'll pull back all your info. I can see the specific shipments that I used a particular carrier on. So when I use that carrier, rate per mile, all of the details, really going to help me in any negotiation that I have with any carrier that's interested in this particular shipment. Of course, we have many ways of managing load postings and things like that. We can also see the onboarding status of the carrier. Authority Insurance Safety Packet indicates that that carrier is approved through the onboarding integrations that we support and ready to haul for us. We also have carrier rules as well in place. So behind the scenes, and one thing that we'll talk about later, is the ability for you to create rules for your organization or for specific customers. That's going to block carriers from being available in addition to carriers that get blocked by the onboarding tools. So that you can make sure that your team is just able to go out here, call carriers, cover freight. That's what we want them to do. We don't need them to focus on all kinds of different criteria around carriers. We just want them to be able to jump in here quickly and get it done. We can edit our search criteria down here at the bottom too. Wide variety of ways to winnow that search radius down. I can look at a particular time span of data. And the carrier labels feature in Tai is going to completely replace any truck list that you currently have. So you can simply build those truck lists into Tai. It's a one-to-many relationship. Just tag those carriers. And then you can search through those carriers right here. You can do multiples at a time, and it's going to pull lists available right here for you. And then simply selecting the email, as long as we have a dispatcher on file, we can directly email through our integrated email. Sean, you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the goal here of the email tool is, we can fully support EDI. And one of the things that's great about Tai is we really try not to make EDI cost prohibitive to you. So you're not going to end up with some crazy bill for setting your customers up on EDI. But when we're talking about email, we want to mainly make it easy for your team to be able to pull those shipments in from email without having to do a bunch of data entry, potentially missing an opportunity, and also giving managers visibility on how long is it taking us to get back to spot quote scenarios and how many we're winning or losing on. For the most part, folks you would have to audit an inbox in a lot of brokerages in order to find out how often you're quoting and how often you're winning those quotes. And our goal is to make it so you're not wasting any time. The customers that email you, we scrape the email using an AI feature within Tai. We bring that shipment into the system. It pops right here. It follows your rules to put it right on a carrier rep's plate if it's already a committed shipment. And then you can use all these tools that Rob is showing you right now.
Exactly. Let's talk about some automation capability here. So as I email those carriers, I may have 5 loads to cover. I could easily just head right back out here to the company load board, and I could work on something else. In the background, if a carrier responds to an email that I send out, our automation is going to pick that up. It's going to assign a task back to me for that particular shipment, allowing me just to hop right in, see the detail of the response there. I can see all the info that returns, and then I could decide if I want to leverage that carrier or not. We also have some really powerful guardrails, and we'll show you this, or the ability to create them. But of course, we have AMG Freight here who's blocked by the rule set for this particular customer. There's a rule that they currently don't comply with that we've created. But we're also going to be looking at the margin on this particular load and making sure that we cover within the range that we have here. So you can see here the max buy rate is 3,500. So let's try to cover this a little bit higher. Let's say we're gonna go ahead and use Bill's Trucking here at 4,600. We'll select them for the shipment. And that's obviously going to reduce my margins down on this particular shipment pretty substantially. Now, as soon as that happened, if you head up here to the top, you'll notice that I received a task alert. Now, I'm the manager and the carrier sales rep in this situation, right? So I'm the one, getting the alert here. But, imagine if you have a large team, if you want to really understand what's going on, if you want to be right there with them and helping them make sure that we are protecting margin, you could build these kind of alerts. It's just going to let you know, hey, I'm trying to cover this load, but we are dipping below a margin threshold that we've set for this particular lane. We could even block this from happening if you wanted to. You've got a lot of capability. There's a lot of ability to automate.
Yeah, and the goal here is we want to give you all kinds of ways to make sure that we're protecting your margin. Because even if you don't set up a rule or a guardrail, at the very least, we've got all the information in one place. And there's really no excuse for your carrier rep team not to go to the trusted network of carriers where we know the historical rates they've given us, and we have everything in front of us for negotiating power. Because the goal is to not slow down the process, but to give them everything that they would normally want to look at from one screen. So if they happen to be back and forth in an email or a text exchange, or maybe they've got the carrier rep on the phone, we know exactly what we've been quoted over the last few days. We know what the market's telling us. So that gives us some confidence in trying to protect our margin. But then again, to Rob's point, you could set up a guardrail to make sure that we never get below a certain margin without it, maybe a manager's approval or something like that.
Absolutely. Couple more things here, guys. Of course, we can learn more about Bill's trucking service if we like. Pop in there. We've got all their history. We've got, their scorecard, the ability for you to customize that, to create, and rate carriers however you like and whatever way makes the most sense for your team. Regions, lanes they operate in, contacts, all of that's going to be available right here in a click just from this page. So, really able to move fast when it comes to covering shipments. Lastly, head up here to my send message tool, grab that carrier dispatcher that I selected. In my case here, I actually didn't allow the automation to block it. So I actually was able to assign that carrier 4,600. So we're going to come in here. We'll choose the RateCon template. It's going to build out the details, attach the RateCon. You control all of the templates in the system. You can even automate this if you wanted to. You could even create a workflow that would automate that process. You just select the carrier, says a RateCon to the contact that you have on file. Although you may need to be able to select the dispatcher and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But that's it. We've covered our shipment.
Yeah. So as you can see through this page, all of the key functions that would happen for a carrier rep on a load. And even if you wanted to actually quote the shipment on the front end, maybe you're running more of a cradle to grave model. Email comes in or EDI comes in. We get a price on it by looking at this information, looking at our historical rates. Hopefully we win more just by being the fastest broker to get back with a quote. But the goal being that your team can do everything from one place, including email, right? So AI has become kind of a buzzword over the last year or so here. But we always try to look for practical application for AI in the broker space, and really integrating to your email and making it so you don't miss those quote requests, shipment requests, tracking requests, pulling those directly into the TMS, but then allowing you to email back from within the TMS. So that hopefully gives you a lot more speed, but it also gives you a lot more operational visibility. So if anybody's not following the rules, you get to look at maybe some rules you need to build into the workflow to keep everybody on track. Because the goal is really, they don't have to necessarily feel every rule, every lecture that you give them. Instead, you build it into the platform and then they just get to move freight. That's what we want our carrier reps and our brokers doing, is just jumping in here and finding quick ways to cover loads and moving on to the next load.
Exactly. Let's take a look at a few additional features that really backed up our example here today. So if you recall back, again, I'm the carrier sales rep trying to cover this load. AMG Freight blocked for my customer here by a rule. So we're going to take a look at the carrier rules engine that allowed this to happen, that prevented me from being able to use that carrier. Let's also take a look at the margin management side. So the tool or our workflow automation that caused this alert to be generated and assigned to me as the manager. If I hop into my shipment really closely, you'll notice that we also created a custom alert for that called margin warning, right? And this is something that I just created for you guys this morning. So, the icons are yours to choose. The language that you see is totally up to you. And that's going to appear wherever the shipment is available. So right here in the profile or on the company load board here, you're going to see, any of those custom alerts. So let's start with the rules engine. I'll head up to the LSP tab here. You can access this from a customer profile if you're an account manager, or more generally from the LSP tab, which reflects all of the configurations for your brokerage. I'll hop in here, and you'll notice right off the bat that customer that I was working with, Bulk Reef Supply, AMG Freight LLC, excluded on truckload shipments. So I've just created a really simple rule, for that particular carrier. There's a lot of flexibility that you have here. This is based on our region capability, which is what powers a lot of our rating engine. So you can create rules around, hey, I want to use a particular carrier in these lanes, or I don't want to for this particular lane or for this particular customer. I can create those carrier labels, groups of carriers, and then I can make it so that a customer could only use, or I could block certain carriers. Maybe we have a do not use list of carriers that we only use to haul freight that, maybe not the most time sensitive or critical, right? Easily create a group, block it from your top customers that have high value freight. All of this stuff is available to you here in Tai. Got anything to add there?
And this is the flexibility we were talking about. So, yeah, sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is the flexibility that we were talking about. So this is just one aspect of flexibility. So carrier rules just makes it easy so that a lot of brokerages will have a couple really key reps that do a great job. They know what they're doing. They don't even necessarily need a new technology just because it all lives in their head and they move so fast. But when we want to think about scaling and bringing some new employees underneath those experts, we want those experts to be able to set the rules for them so that they follow the guidelines. So carrier rules is just one aspect, and then Rob's going to pivot into our workflow automation tool.
Absolutely. So this is just, again, to kind of close this out. The idea here is that we can set these rules. We have our onboarding integrations that's going to help us understand and make sure that we have qualified carriers. But taken together, if we have this in place, your team can just focus on getting freight covered. They don't have to worry about the specifics of a carrier. We don't have to train them on a ton of SOPs. Of course, we'll still have them, but we can let the system really kind of control and put those guardrails in place so that we don't make any margin crushing mistakes. Let's pop into the
workflow. If you're using like a highway as an integration, if you're using highway as an integration or anything like that, they're doing a lot of the vetting work for you, but these are extras. So maybe these carriers Rob's talking about are actually vetted. They're, you're protected from fraud, but a little extra rules to make it more customizable for the customer themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're building on top of, we're not replacing when it comes to this, certainly. All right, let's hop into the workflow automation and we'll take a look at that margin example that powered this task up here. And hopefully get you thinking about some opportunities to optimize or to automate some rote tasks within your brokerage. If I head up to the tab here, we can open up workflow automation. And we'll be greeted by all of the different workflow automations that I've created here in the demo site. So there's lots of them, easy to find based on the subscriber type. And of course, you can always just search things in Tai. We make it really easy to do that. But let's focus on this margin management workflow that I was using here. This is a really simple one. Basically what this does is it just says whenever we add a carrier to a load with a rate, if the margin percentage is less than equal to this 13% that I put right here, then it's going to trigger that warning, right? And it's going to add an alert, and it could even be set to remove the carrier or to change the status. So this is a really powerful way to build some guardrails if you'd like to. Of course, not required, but definitely something that we will give you all the capability to do, along with all kinds of other ways. All other subscribers, you could build lane filters in here. You could have it send a webhook out that you could connect up to Slack. There's a lot of capability here with the workflow automation tool for anything that's rote or anything that you need your team to really be efficient and automated working through.
Yeah. And as you probably know, if you've been in the broker space for a long time, historically, you have to go and get development work done in order to create your own automations and sort of customize a platform to you. This allows you to have one Tai expert that would jump into this screen right from the interface and very quickly be able to set up all kinds of processes, just like you would in the most advanced CRMs on the market today, where it makes it really easy to have one admin. They know your business obviously better than any TMS provider would, right? So if they can build out those customizations, we give you a really solid foundation, and then they're able to tailor this to your business needs.
Exactly. Assignments are another critical part of this too. So if we look at another quick example here, when we talk about assigning to a carrier sales team, we hit a certain status, maybe appointments are set. We can assign to the team, we can add an alert, or we could send a webhook. And so that's going to help your team really stay on task. That's going to help you do more with less. It's going to help you be efficient. And that's really our goal here at Tai.
Right on. So the goal is, if you don't mind pivoting back over to the truckload quoting page, just to kind of close this out. And as I kind of wrap it up here, if we have any questions, we only have a few right now in the chat. So if you have more, feel free to drop them in. We'll also be bringing a link in to make it so if you'd like to book a demo or get more information about Tai. But just to wrap this up, as you can see here, the example we're given on this demo today is just picture your carrier rep team. You have all different experience levels. Some of the guys that are experts, they've got it all in their head. They know exactly what to price, how to negotiate. They remember yesterday how many times they quoted that particular lane and what it went for. But what about those guys that are maybe a tier down in experience, or maybe even the newer people that you feel are very promising that you want to train to move freight as efficiently as the rest of your team? This screen empowers them to do all of it. So you can see what the rate should be based on your own average, based on your market intelligence tools at the top of the screen. Dat rate view can be displayed up there as well, but green screens, FreightWave, Truck Stop, all of those tools live in the system. We can collect quotes on this page. And I think that's the most important aspect, because we want to be able to aggregate data. Most brokers really only get one data point when they book a shipment, and it's just the one that they actually used, the one carrier they actually used, as opposed to, we want you to be able to see all of the quotes they got for that lane from carriers, so that contributes to our data. And it allows us to be more and more confident in the lanes that we should be charging the right price on, or maybe even some opportunities to go after new business, because we start to see that we have plenty of carriers that service a particular lane. All of that while reducing your exposure to fraud by setting up these rules, integrating to products like Highway, and making it so your team on the fly can see who's onboarded and who's not, and maybe who's got some insurance that's about to expire in a week, and we got to get an updated cert before we send them out on a long haul shipment or a cross country shipment. So Rob, before we address any questions, do you want to say anything more about the market and what we've been facing?
Yeah, I think we're definitely looking at some downward pressure. We hear that from customers all the time. And leveraging technology effectively and, driving efficient processes and really sitting down and evaluating your processes is a great way to combat that. I think a really important exercise is to understand, what's your cost per employee for every step that you have to take to get a shipment, from when we have a quote all the way to when we get it covered, all the way to when it's delivered and invoiced. How much time does it take to do that? What costs do we have going into that? And what can we leverage technology-wise to bring that cost down overall? So if you haven't had a chance to do that for your brokerage, I would encourage you to really, really look at that. And when we talk about technology, a platform like Tai, building out those workflow automations, those assignments, leveraging the different carrier rules automations, and all of the capacity tools that we integrate with are definitely ways that you can help bring down that cost overall. And if you need some help, or if you'd like some advice or anything like that on that side, Sean and I would be more than happy to spend some time with you and dig through some numbers, and we've certainly seen it a fair few times. So
yeah, and I will tell you, we very often we talk to a lot of brokers. We run sales a little differently than most other organizations because we know that we want to have a good long-term partnership with you. So we put a lot of emphasis on customers' experience, customer service, and we're not afraid to tell you if we're not a good fit for you. So we like to invite everybody in, even just to have a consultation in order to we have so many years of experience in freight tech specifically. So when we try to look at your unique business scenarios, we can tell you pretty quickly if we think we're going to be able to help you or if you might be a better fit for a different tech provider. With that being said, we'll answer a couple of the questions in here. And Rob, if you don't mind, I'll read them off to you. There's only a few, but I'll read them off to you and you can hopefully give us an answer. First one's pretty easy, and maybe you can expand on it a little bit, but for the accounting side, does Tai integrate to QuickBooks Online?
Certainly does. Yeah. So we have a full QuickBooks integration. QuickBooks is the most common accounting platform that we see with customers, but just keep in mind for the folks that maybe don't use QuickBooks, we do integrate with, we have the ability to integrate with a variety of other systems. But that's going to be plug and play out of the box.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
And
QuickBooks is a pretty commonly used one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see one here around drayage or intermodal rail shipments. Certainly have the capability to help you on the drayage container management side. One of the really powerful things about Tai is you actually have the ability in Tai to create your own custom references, which lends itself really well for drayage. So you can build out, all of those references in our system, all the alerts. Hey, is it in-gated? Is it out-gated? What's the status of those? You can create, even your own processes in here along with those workflow automations. So would certainly love to walk you through some drayage examples, Chris. On the intermodal side, we do have the ability to also store that data too. Isn't a main focus for us as a TMS platform, but it definitely is something that we have the ability to store information for and help you with.
And I'd say be on the lookout because we'll probably do another webinar specifically on drayage and some of the features we have. We consider our core competency to be LTL and full truckload, but there's a lot of overlap with truckload and drayage, and we've added a lot of features to make it super easy for you to do drayage within Tai.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin asked, is there an LTL module? So there's one cool thing about Tai, there are no modules with Tai. So it's if you get the access, if you're on our platform, you get all the tools that we work so hard to create. But we actually do spend a lot of time and effort on LTL. We build and maintain all of our own direct carrier integrations at Tai. I'd say we're fairly unique in the market in terms of that approach. But we've got about 110 LTL carriers fully integrated, rating, booking, tracking, even the documents. And on the back end, we do full freight audit. So 210 comes in, automatically approves, denies. So love to walk you through it, Kevin, sometime.
Yeah. And Rob, just a quick one that relates to what we showed today. Sarah's asking to show the min and max tab. It looks like we not have showed that part.
Yeah, and Sarah, you had a question earlier too that I skipped on you, so I'll answer your first question. That truck stop comment feature that you're looking at there. So when we're looking at the load board here, the truckload quoting page, if I were to post this on truck stop, you see there's the comment section there. You can delete it. Where this pulls from, though, is if we head into your shipment profile, this is going to be your stop instructions. And in Tai, we consider the stop instructions to be carrier facing. Typically, we usually map it to carrier facing stuff, and that's why it's being sent there. What I would recommend doing is use the stop notes. And if you need to do this for a lot of locations, don't worry. You can simply download Excel version of the addresses. Just move the column over and then load them back in. And if you need help, our support team is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. The other one from Sarah.
And then
the min-max. Yeah, so min-max, it's in here. It's a little, sometimes it's a little hidden, but let me show you this. When you're looking at your load board, kind of hard to see, but customized columns. So this will show you all your column customization. We call it max buy rate and min die rate right there. and you can choose how you want those to be organized. A best practice that I found is that the buy rate on the load, it's good to use that as the min buy rate, and then do a max buy rate so your team has a range. It helps a lot. If you click on the pricing modal for a shipment, you'll notice that this is the main pricing. So this is what will become the carrier rate, but then you have your min and your max right there. So you'll see that whenever the pricing modal is available.
So moving on to
maybe one thing on that. If you're not seeing this, there might be a feature flag that we're about to enable for you. So just keep in mind it might be like a week or so on that one. So just
that's if you're a current customer on that.
Yep.
So Claudia was asking about if the market intelligence tools are included or if they're a separate charge. So yes and no. You actually, the Tai logo that you saw at the top of the truckload quoting screen shows your averages. So we're able to really easily aggregate all of the quotes that you're getting and make it so that your team can see your average. So that Tai logo at the top would actually be your company logo. That's your company's average. And you can, we're showing over the last 6 months. Now, if you do want to show green screens, truck stop, that rate view, sonar, that you would have to actually have a contract with them as well. But come talk to us because we might be able to make it a little easier on you if you want to use any of those features. A lot of our customers use several. They want their team to be able to look at multiple data sources, compare that to their average, and then quickly click through to find out what was our most recent quote on this lane. If we quoted this specific lane earlier today, then we have a really good idea on the fly what we need to price it at and what we should be able to expect.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me just see if a lot came in all at once, so I'm just digging through to see if there's any questions that we didn't address. Rob, there's one here from Trevor about agents.
I see that.
Yep.
Agent who sends an ARC rate confirmation that requires it to be signed and picked up before delivery renders to the carrier. Is that a feature within Tai? I guess it would. I'd have to probably learn a little bit more about the situation there. Is it something that the shipper is sending you each time? If so, that's easy to do. You can simply just go into the load. There's 100 different ways you can do this. You've got universal search to find your load really fast. If you're on the company load board, you can just pop into it, check call, attach document, drag drop, give it a type. And then when you come over here, your email is fully integrated in Tai. And so you'll have your Raycon template there. And then your attachments here, you can actually pull the attachment in that you've saved there. So you could push that document out. So that shouldn't be a problem.
And again, that's just another example of how much speed you have when the email is integrated to the TMS, because right from the same screen that we're working off of, Rob just pulled up an email to send to the customer. And then managers can actually see that back and forth. The full activity log will show your managers how we're actually going through the process and how long it's taking us to get maybe some of these emails out. And we can look at which ones we should automate using the workflow automation tool and things like that. I think we got all of the questions. I want to let everybody know if there's more, feel free to drop them in. We have a couple more minutes, but there are a couple handouts that you can download. There is the full truckload and LTL rating with precision white paper. And then we also have an article about the 8 areas that we believe it helps the common broker improve. So obviously you might have some scenarios that we'd love to have you come ask us about so we can show you how to build workflows to make that more efficient. But those 8 key areas, the vast majority of brokers have those areas, and they could be pain points for you. And if they are, we have a little article on how we can help you fix those, be more efficient, and how to get the most out of the team that you have. Because most brokers in a market like this, you have, as everybody knows, it's hard to find really top talent, right? So if you have top talent and you feel really good about your team, the goal of the system is to really minimize all the tedious stuff that they do so that they can be more human, right? Like even when we're talking about AI, the AI features is really just, the goal of it is just to eliminate data entry, get the quotes on the right person's plate so that they can focus on being fast, being efficient, and then spending more time with your customer, building that relationship, and maybe actually reaching out to the carriers and building those relationships with carriers instead of being bogged down by tedious processes and being in multiple screens at the same time, having load boards over here, pricing intelligence over there, carrier network on a spreadsheet somewhere. We want it all to be in one place because we think it gives your team much more efficiency. They can quote more. If anybody wants it, reach out to us and we can send you out a case study we also did on one of our customers who retrained. They were a longtime customer, but when we enhanced this page, they retrained their entire team around quoting off of this page, and their team was able to double their freight bookings per day, and they got a better margin on average month over month. So they went from doing booking about 7 loads a day to 14, and they were getting better margin. And it's really just off of giving them what they need in one place to set them up for success.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine just, if you sit down and just take a look at, what would 1% or 0.5%, do, to your business overall, if you could make that. And then imagine if we could do better. There's a lot that we can do with this tool, and making sure that, you're maximizing those carrier lists and the carrier history that you have, using the system to do that. You're not keeping it outside the system. It's certainly going to help you recover as much as you can.
Yep. So the goal being, even if we're really conservative, just so you know, the average Tai customer does about 30% more shipment volume after they've ramped up with Tai, and they do get a better margin. That's average. But imagine if your team just had all this in one place and they could just do 10% more a month than they do today. And if they were getting 1% more margin out of every shipment than they do today, on average across the board, that would more than pay for itself and give you a nice new baseline for your team to then start thinking about growth. Well, with that being said, we really appreciate everybody hanging with us today. This is the first of a series that we're planning on doing, so please stay tuned. If anybody is looking for a more thorough demo, you can go to tai-software.com and you can request a demo. You might even see Rob and I, but we also have plenty of reps that can help walk you through with plenty of expertise. We specifically hire for folks that know brokerages and understand what brokers do. And our goal is to make sure that we show you how Tai can flex to your process and make you more efficient. So stay tuned for future webinars, and thank you all for joining today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Really appreciate it.